into week one. For those that don't know, the Steelers agreed to wear the name of Antwon Rose Jr., a black teenager killed by East Pittsburgh police in 2018, on the backs of their helmets. They agreed as a team to do that for the entire 2020 season. Al Villanueva, who is an Army Ranger, very pro-military, as you know, and a couple of years back, when the rest of the team stayed in the locker room, he came out in the tunnel with his hand on his heart for the national anthem. He covered up Rose's name and wrote Army Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cachet's name on the back of his helmet. He's a black soldier who was killed on duty in Iraq and posthumously awarded the Silver Star for heroism. Now, come to find out, this is where it really gets interesting, is Maurkice Pouncey today put on Instagram basically what amounted to an apology, if not a declaration that Blue Lives Matter. He said, I want to personally clarify what transpired this past Monday night in regards to having Antwon Rose's name on the back of the helmet. He talked about the limited information that he claims to have gotten regarding the situation. Right. He cited his work with police. He was like, moving forward, I will make my own decision about what to wear on the back of my helmet. So now you have Villanueva breaking ranks, you got Pouncey breaking ranks, and you have them both deflecting from the conversation and conflating what the conversation is really about, Michael Holley. What's your take on this?
Yeah, okay, this is what I think of it. One, I kind of respect this aspect of it. They just got there they got there in a very circuitous way. Big words here, big words, circuitous, ooh. But they got there in a backwards way. Look, we can't pretend like all of these teams are just gonna be on board and all agree on these issues that we don't all agree on. So why even try to do it? Don't do it. You're either going to go all in as a team and say, is everybody cool with this? Is everybody all right? Because this is what we're going to do. If you have dissent from 3 people, 4 people, or 2 people in this case, it's just better to move away from it. So let's just.
But that's not what happened here, though, Michael.
I know. Well, I know, but what they did is, and this is why I don't like. I can't stand workplaces like this. I think what happened is they all agreed to do it, right? They all agreed to do it.
Villanueva caught him off guard. He surprised him.
It was a little backdoor. I can't stand that. I can't stand that. Let's be real. Let's be real about it. I hate it when people say, okay, when they nod their heads like they're feeling you, and then they take another route.
Yeah.
I will respect you more, even if I don't agree with you, because I'm a grown-up. I know you're not going to see everything the same way I see it. But at least be straight up with me and say, well, I don't like that. I don't want to do that with my helmet. And if you do that, I think it's just better. And you go in another direction as a team. Here's the other thing I want to say, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead.
With Pouncey, he raised more questions for me with his Instagram post than he did shut down some issues. He said there's limited information. Well, I read the story just like he did. What am I missing?
Yeah.
It was a rookie cop on the job for 3 weeks. Cop says he didn't know. He thought somebody had a gun. We've heard this story before. Thought somebody had a gun. He wasn't sure who had the gun. He shot this young man 3 times in the back.
Yeah.
What am I missing? He was acquitted. Is that the information? That's out there. And quite frankly, we've seen that story before too. A lot of times, you have these police shootings, the shooter has been acquitted. Yep. So Maurkice Pouncey, tell me this in your next post so I can be educated. What is the missing information that you have and the rest of us don't?
Yeah, look, and information.
That's my challenge. That's my challenge to him. Give me the information.
Yeah.
And I'll consider
it. Information too oftentimes nowadays is often subjective and shaky. For Pouncey, like I said, this was basically a post saying Blue Lives Matter. Pouncey, and let me preface it by saying I respect law enforcement, generally speaking. But Pouncey's a guy that thinks that the answer to police brutality is ride-alongs. He thinks the answer to police brutality is, let me support the police. So Pouncey, he does a lot of work with Florida police. And I get
And
his
Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh police as well.
And Pittsburgh. I get his affection for law enforcement. I know his family history and this, that, and the other. But okay, man. It's like we're talking about police brutality. And it's a subtle and yet popular and frequent attempt, to deflect from the issue of police brutality by now taking the side of law enforcement and saying, well, they have such a tough job, or it's the same old trite. It's from the playbook that we've seen for years and years now. When it comes to like, hey man, this is not just him making an individual decision. This is him intentionally running counter to what your teams have agreed to and what the conversation is. We're talking about police brutality.
Right.
It does exist. It does happen. And now, from somewhere, he's got some information like you're talking about, and now he's decided, oh, I'm sorry, let me come out and make clear where I stand on this issue, which is, hey, we got to do a better job of supporting cops. No, we got to do a better job of getting rid of killer cops is what we have to do a better job of. So that's my Pouncey thing, and holding them accountable. That's my Pouncey part. Villanueva, we talked about the town earlier. Be slicker than a 6-year-old. And let me be clear, man. Nothing but respect for people in our military. Nothing but respect for people in our military. I respect Villanueva. I thank you for his service. But this is feeding into the conflation of the Black Lives Matter movement, and specifically the player-led protests started by Colin Kaepernick in 2016 of kneeling during the national anthem in peaceful protests against the issue of police brutality. This is the practice of conflating that with some kind of anti-military stance. And because, again, rest in peace to Sergeant First Class Alwyn Cachet, rest in peace, and he gave his life for our country. But supporting Antwon Rose Jr. has nothing to do with a fallen soldier. And so now you're bringing in a military commentary into this situation by honoring him. In other words, saying, no, I'm not going to honor the victim of police brutality, which is what we all agreed to do as a team, or what this conversation is about. I'm going to bring the military into it, which is that classic play that people have been doing for years now, conflating the practice of kneeling during the national anthem with some kind of anti-military stance. I said this last week, Michael. I said at the beginning of this week when we talked about, the week 1 demonstrations. We cannot get unity and consensus. We can't get those two things mixed up. There will not be unity and consensus in this issue. Teamwork is not going to make this particular dream work. That's not going to happen. Because what you have right now is guys in that locker room. We talked about Mike Tomlin and his ability to manage personalities. Guys in that locker room are now going their separate ways, doing their own thing, and adding more confusion to the conversation.
I think that's a lot of teams. I think that's a lot of people, not just football, but in industries across North America. But I would say this very quickly, and this is something that we will bookmark and keep talking about because it's not going away. It's an issue that's not going away. I think, but if I had to find a common denominator to all of this commentary, and hey, well, what about this? What about that? It is this notion, I think, misguided notion that to be critical of something is to be against it. No, I can be critical of it, my family, my country, my workplace, my industry.
What did Baldwin say? I love my country, and therefore I reserve the right to criticize her perpetually.
Right. I can be critical of it and still love it. I can point out a flaw in it without bringing down the entire industry. I'm a journalist. I feel no obligation to defend Stephen Glass, who made up stuff. I feel no obligation to defend Jason Blair, who made up stuff. That should not happen. They invented characters. They invented stories. They invented quotes. They were journalists. They were bad journalists. They're probably good writers, but bad journalists. So, do I love journalism? Yes, I do. But you can still be critical of something that is not right in your profession. So if you are in law enforcement and you do the job well, God bless you. I love you. I respect you. You are necessary. But you can also be critical of your profession when your profession has gone left.
And let me also
I can't say gone left because then that becomes political. Well, it has gone askew. Okay.
let me be fair. In Pouncey's post, he also says systemic racism issues have occurred in our country for too long, and that needs to stop. My focus will continue to be on helping the police in our communities, and I will support making any necessary changes to help those efforts. He said, make no mistake, I'm against racism, and the best thing we can do to continue helping repair relationships between the police and their communities. So, look, all I'm saying is like these two acts to me undermine a conversation which frankly shouldn't be a conversation. As in my humanity, the people that look like me, our humanity is not a conversation. It's not up for discussion. But when you do stuff like this, it just only serves to deflect from what the real issue is. Again, rest in peace to Army Sergeant First Class Antwon Rose. I get, him being killed on duty in Iraq. I get that. But they had agreed as a team to honor a victim of police brutality. And for Villanueva to do his own thing, and now for Pouncey to come back and claim that he got information, you're also making the rest of your team look as though they don't know what they're talking about. You're hurting the credibility of the cause that your team took up.